Hello, back for another story, I see. A tale of daring do and adventure, danger, of hazards beyond imagination. Well, you're in luck. I have one just for you, and I think it should fill your mind with quite the array of sensations, excitement, exhilaration, anticipation. All of these things and more are waiting for you within the pages of this tale. Our story today begins with two figures, each astride strong stallions, making their way through a large field towards a destination of which only one of them truly knows. Here in this field, a man and a woman ride. How long is it going to take us to get there, Ramius? The woman exclaims. Calm yourself, we're almost there. You see that cliff and that light there at the bottom? That's where we're going. Our destination, known as Cliffside Tavern. We're going to a tavern? I thought you said we were going somewhere important. We do have a job to do, Ramius. Yes, Hella, I know. Very important things need be done. And I assure you that this is of the utmost importance. The person we're going to get will be quite beneficial to us. So try to be patient. Whatever you say. But this had better be worth the ride. Nearly a week of travel for some backwoods tavern, the woman griped, as they continued to ride towards their destination, very soon beginning to approach a ramshackle tavern, steeped below a high cliffside. The tavern itself, as to be expected, worn, old, patchwork, half looking as if it were falling apart, and simply held together by whatever new piece of lumber they decide to strap to it, in order to keep it from falling into crumbly little bits. There, surprisingly, a large group of individuals are gathered outside of the tavern, all standing about, torches ablaze as they mutter amongst each other, laughing and reveling, many still carrying beers, strong brew, as they laugh frivolously, spilling it on each other as they joke around, many of them staring up to the cliff overhead. What in the world is going on? Hella said, as she stared at the gathering, seeing the direction they were all looking, quickly finding her eyes, panning to the top of the high cliff overhead. There a figure stood at the edge, hard to make out in the distance, even when he was carrying a torch. But from the distance, she could still tell that he did not look like a worthwhile individual. Tattered, dirty, beer-stained clothing, long, unkempt hair, a beer-stained beard, and covered with a myriad of dirt and stains on his clothing, standing at the edge of the cliff. Well, it looks like we're just in time for the show, Ramius said with a smile, as he began to dismount his horse. What in the world is going on here? Hella exclaimed as she did the same. Is that man? He's going to jump. Yes, looks that way, doesn't it? Ramius replied, still smiling brightly. Well, shouldn't we stop him? It wouldn't matter. It takes a fair while to reach that side of the cliff. Even on horseback, he would have jumped by the time that you made your way around. Do you remember our wager? The man cried down from the cliff. Remember, if I live, I get the gold. Everything in your purse. The man cried down as a discordant group of men laughed rigorously. You're a fool and you're about to be a dead fool. If I were you, I would turn back around. Do you truly think the money is worth it? You can always make more money if you're still alive. A man within the small group, laughing joyously as they stared up, shouted out, No, it's a rather long trip around the other side. I think I'll just take the short way down. It'll be much easier to collect your money that way." "God, do it already!" one man shouted out from the other gatherings of individuals who had all formed a large circle around the area below the cliff. "Hey, remember to not let that man leave. He owes me cash. Everyone here heard it. His coin's mine." "Jump already!" the voices shouted out. "Jump! Jump! Jump!" they all exclaimed as they laughed and chanted at him. Hey, I haven't given my speech yet. Here you stand before me. Witness the power of an immortal, one who cannot be slain by the blades of man, nor bound by mortal limitations. I, the immortal, shall allow you to bear witness to this, my great power. Go jump, you drunken blackguard!" Many of the people started uttering and chanting. "Jump already! Go find your spoil sports," the man replied from atop the cliff. "No, he's not really going to," Hella said, peering at the man, as he seemed to take a few steps back from the cliff edge, as if he were getting a nice jump. Range started. "Oh yes, he's going to do it," Ramia said, still smiling and looking up. "This is insane. All of these people are really chanting for a man's death." "Just watch, Hella," Ramia said, as the man suddenly took off, with a few long strides, leaping from the edge of the cliff, beginning to hurtle down towards the ground. Hella, unable to control her actions, shouted out, "No!" as the man leaped from the cliff, beginning to rush, trying to make her way through the crowds, as there was a sickening sound of a crack as his body impacted the hard ground below. As Hella finally pushed her way through the crowd to find his broken and shattered body lying beneath, blood staining out on the ground below, bones twisted and snapped out of place, jutting out from his body in different places. It was a sickening sight. All the while, the men laughed. "Drunken buffoon, thought himself immortal. Killed himself for a pocket full of change that he doesn't even get. That's what happens when you let the drink take hold, boys. Let this be a reminder to you not to be fools," the man who had made the bet ranted as him and his men laughed and joked amongst each other. "Do you truly feel no shame for this? This man is dead," Hella said, looking at the group. "It's not our fault he's a fool," the man said, as an old gentleman began to approach from behind Hella. "I'm afraid that you're the fool. You, my friends, have been taken for a ride, one that many before you have taken." "From what do you speak, old man? You've been swindled. You made the bet and you're going to pay up. You don't realize the rest of us were laughing at you. What, you think you're the first group of travelers that he's swindled out of their pocket money? What are you talking about, old man? He's dead. Perhaps you should take a closer look. He may be a drunkard, but he is telling the truth about one thing. He is most definitely immortal," the old man said, pointing at the man lying on the ground, as the individuals looked over, still laughing. "You must be joking, old man. That drunken buffoon is," he said, his words beginning to slow to a halt, as he began to see the man lying on the ground, moving, his body shuddering, twisting and contorting, his bones snapping back into place as he began to lift himself from the ground. "Oh, that hurt. That hurt a lot. But after about the 50th time, you get used to it," he said as he pulled himself to his feet, still the sickening sound of his bones in all different places, snapping back into their rightful station, as Hella looked on in horror. "Oh my God, what on earth?" she said, as the last of the man's bones reaffixed themselves, and he stood there, cracking his neck a bit. Well, that'll be your purse, gentlemen. A bet's a bet. I jumped, and I'm alive, so I get your coin," the man said as he began to approach the group, extending his hand outwards, expectantly. "No, it's some sort of a trick. You can't be. I saw you jump." "Yeah, and you saw me land, too. Look, I'm not called the Immortal because I die easily. I'm called the Immortal because I don't die. That's my whole thing. Now, your purse," he said, clutching the fingers in his hand as he extended it even further. You tricked us." "I did no such thing. I told you I was immortal. Told you the fall wouldn't kill me. You're the one who didn't believe me. And was even so confident about it you made the bet, wagering all your coin. I didn't trick anyone. You made a sour bet and lost your money. That's your own fault. And what if I were to say that I'm not giving my money to you? Well, then we'd have to sell it the way men settle things. We can have ourselves a little throwdown. But there's a problem with that." "Yeah? What's the problem?" "Sounds all right with me and my boys," they said as some of them began to crack their knuckles, reaching to their sides for blades. "Well, isn't that a poor choice?" the man replied. "Think about it, you idiots. I'm immortal. I recover from any injury, no matter how severe, as you've just witnessed. I can't be killed or really harmed. You, on the other hand, do not have that advantage. So you can fight me if you wish. Even use those pointy swords of yours. It really doesn't matter. Because only one of us is immortal. Stab me all you like, boys. I don't die, which means I can keep fighting. Hit me as many times as you want. It doesn't matter. I can keep fighting. Chop off one of my arms. It doesn't matter. I can put it back. Hell, grow a new one. I've done it before. It's all the same. You can't win a fight against a man you can't kill. So, between you and me, boys, your best option is to just hand over your coin and leave with your life," the man said, staring with a focused expression, clutching his hand once again, as the figures, who seemed ready to fight a moment ago, suddenly began to second-guess their decision. The leader, getting a grimaced expression, gritting his teeth as he approached, walking closer to the strange drunkard who survived a jump from a cliff, reaching down, grabbing the purse at his side, and placing it in his hand firmly. "You go fuck yourself. Come on, boys," the man said as he turned around, and him and his friends began to make their way away from the tavern, as the others began to make their way inside of it, back to more drinking and frivolity. As Ramius approached, "Well, hello there. How have you been?" he said, looking at the strange immortal drunkard. "Ramius, you old dog. How long has it been? 4 years?" "Closer to 6. You really need to stop drinking so much," Ramius replied, as the strange drunkard began to approach, his arms spread wide for a hug. I think that's good enough. You're still covered in your own blood." Oh, come now. Don't be like that, Ramius. Come, give us a kiss," he said, puckering his lips, as he extended his arms even further, approaching Ramius. No, no! Gross! No, stop it! Ramius said, as the figure hugged him regardless of his desire not to be hugged, squeezing him tightly and kissing him on the cheek. Oh, disgusting, Ramius replied, as the figure finally let him go, and he looked at himself with disgust. And now you've ruined my clothing. Thank you. Thank you very much. It'll show me for paying you a visit. Oh, come now, lighten up, Ramius. Little bit of pig fat, some ashes and lime. It'll wash right out. Yes, I'm sure, Ramius replied. Ramius, who is this man? Oh, Hela, allow me to introduce you to the immortal. He is, as he says, a man who cannot be slain by any blade that man forges, or any circumstance that normally undoes men. I see now. So this is why we've come here. Oh, that sounded like a "we've got something going on" sort of statement. What is it, Ramius? What do you want? Whatever it is, no. I'm not interested, no wars. I'm fine with my blood. Hell, I'm fine with spilling the blood of some random drunkards who think they can get out of a wager. But I leave fighting wars to soldiers. Ah, come now, Ramius replied. I've got a good offer for you, and the job is very important. We need your help, and we're willing to pay you very good coin for it. Very good coin, huh? And exactly how good are we speaking, Ramius? Well, the King and Queen of Athens have offered up your weight in gold in exchange for your service. My weight in gold, you say? And you want me to fight a war? No, Ramius replied. You're not going to fight a war. That entails soldiers, things of that nature. No, we're just going to go on some fetch quests. There are some things that we need to get. And as an added bonus, it'll actually, well, stop the end of the world. You know as well as I that very soon Kronos will waken from his slumber, as he has done before, and so shall he do again. He will burn this world to ash and everything in it. But we have heard tale of items that we can use to keep Kronos in his slumber, should one have the power to acquire them. And for that, we need a man who's, well, very hard to kill. It's simple enough. We get the items, our mission is completed, and you can go back to drinking in your tavern. Hell, buy the tavern, with lots left over. And all you have to do is help us out. So, what do you say? The man scratched his chin a bit, looking as if he were thinking it over, before giving Ramius a stern look. Absolutely not. That kind of shit's for the birds. So what, Kronos wakes up and burns the world to ash? He's done it before, he'll do it again. I see no reason for me to get involved, especially when I'm not gonna die. Remember, I'm immortal. You guys can handle that shit yourself. In fact, once Kronos burns the world to ash, I believe I can just waltz right in and take all the gold that I want. It's not like there'll be anyone to stop me. You're telling me you would seriously let the entire world burn? Hela replied furiously as she approached the drunkard. Is that really all there is to a man who possesses immortality? Yes, that's seriously all there is, the man replied, nonchalantly as he smiled in Hela's direction. Well, if you stop being upset, maybe me and you could take a little spin in the hay. Ever been with an immortal? It was at that point that Hela slapped him firmly. Ugh, disgusting! The man simply laughed it off. Well, I suppose you are immortal. There's no forcing you to help if you don't want to. However, there are a few things that I think you haven't really thought out, Ramius said with a smile towards the drunkard. For example, once the world burns to ash, there'll be no more people left on it, which means immortal though you may be, you will also be very, very alone. Yes, so what? I enjoy my solitude. Yes, I suppose you do. But when I say solitude, you do realize that that means no more drunken wenches, right? What? The drunkard replied, looking at Ramius. Yes, if the world burns to ashes, there aren't going to be any more women. That means no women are going to come to this bar, get hammered, and want to find out what it's like to sleep with an immortal. Oh. Well, yes, I suppose that is a problem. Ugh, and not only that, Ramius replied, but there'll also be no one to make your booze, farmers to grow the grapes, men to grind and ferment the grapes into wine, no strong drink, none at all. You'll be living sober, all by yourself, forever. The drunkard looked at Ramius strangely for a few minutes, as if he were lost in thought, before suddenly walking up and placing his hand on Ramius's shoulder. You know what, Ramius? I have given it some thought, and after fair consideration, I have decided that I cannot leave you, my friend Ramius, to this task all alone. I, the immortal, shall give you my aid. But I still get my weight in gold, correct? Yes, you still get your weight in gold.